Hello there! I am so happy that I get the chance to practice drawing with my graphic tablet in Adobe Illustrator. So I thought that it might be nice to make a video where there are no time lapses, nothing's sped up, nothing's cut out, and we could just sort of draw something nice. I thought I would draw Anya Forger. She's from the anime Spy family, and she has some ridiculous faces, but I think I like this one. And so I am going to go ahead and drag this picture over to my Adobe Illustrator file, and then I can sort of move it to where I can see it and use it as my reference photo, just so that I can have something to look at a little bit closer. And yeah. So I think that over here, I'm probably going to, well, I've been using the select tool. And if you hold down shift while dragging with the select tool, that would be V on your keyboard, then it will maintain its proportions. The picture will maintain its proportions. So I think I'm going to put Anya right here so that I have a little bit of space to draw. Actually, I think I might move her off the board completely, the artboard. I'll make this my reference photo, so I'll label this layer reference photo, and I'll lock it so that I can't touch it. Make a new layer, and here I'm going to put a rectangle so that I can not have to look at the little bit of background that's overlapping. So pressing M and then dragging, and then I'm going to, I don't need a stroke, but I'm going to fill it with white. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lock that. And now I can go ahead and start drawing. But first, I think I'm actually going to make her a little bit bigger. I think that I can afford to do that. Again, I'm holding down shift as I drag the picture. All right, so I haven't done Adobe Illustrator long enough to really have a particular style that I have just locked into and I know works, and it's my favorite style that I'm going to stay with forever. But I do have one thing that I tend to do. So I tend to go ahead and draw with the brush tool a very sketchy, very scrappy outline, and do as much vague shape work as I can. And after I've done one round of that in one layer, I reduce the opacity of all of the strokes within that layer, and then I go ahead and make a new layer, and in that layer I sort of do a little bit of tracing and then a little bit of original line work so that I can slowly work my way towards the image that I'm looking to create. It's kind of a way of like having guidelines and not needing to erase so much. Although you will see in this video that I do a lot of Command Z or Edit Undo. So I'm going to go ahead and change my stroke to black and go ahead and get started with the general shape of Anya's head. We'll start with that. That seems okay. Yeah, I'll go with that. All right, now I'm gonna start doing her hair a little bit. I think it kind of goes like this, maybe a little bit like that. Yeah. Again, just don't be afraid to make some lines that may or may not be perfect, but this is just your base layer. think that I've made her head a little bit too narrow. So I'm going to select half of my drawings and sort of stretch them out. I think that's a little bit closer. So I've taken this tool would be A on your keyboard. I forget what it's called exactly. It's not the select tool, but it's like a specific select tool. So any anchor point that goes in within my little box that I quickly dragged out would be picked up by that tool. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. So I'm a bit of a reader. I might as well chat while I'm drawing, right? So I'm a bit of a reader, and one of my favorite types of book to read are these sort of maybe behavioral psychology or self-development psychology. I really love the authors Malcolm Gladwell, Adam Grant, Simon Sinek, and lately I've been reading Angela Duckworth's Grit. But the last book that I've actually finished was Adam Grant's book, Hidden Potential. And there's so much in there that's really wonderful. If you like reading this sort of thing, then I would highly recommend you give his book a try, because he writes really smoothly and in a very appealing tone. But one of the things that I really took away from reading his book was this idea of the difference between obsession and passion. And in one of Malcolm Gladwell's books, I believe it was Outliers, he popularized this idea of 10,000 hours of practice is what you need in order to become an expert in some sort of activity or skill. And I think that's very true. I mean, of course, practice is a fantastic thing for our brains to get better at anything. But in his book, Hidden Potential, Adam Grant goes on and he says, actually, 10,000 hours of practice, the quality of your practice varies. And I think this is something that we can intuitively pick up and recognize. You know, if you're practicing, but you're not really challenging yourself or trying anything new in your practice, then, of course, you're probably not getting as much out of your practice as the person who is really pushing themselves quite hard and trying new things. The thing that was interesting to me that Adam Grant was pointing out was that being obsessed with perfection, being absolutely determined to do something just because you wanted to see it perfect, wasn't as good for your practice hours as being just extremely passionate about the activity that you were doing. So I think he used sort of an example, and of course I'm paraphrasing literally everything I'm saying, but he said something along the lines of sort of staying up all night trying to do an activity, trying to get something right because you're just obsessed with it, because you think that you really need to just get it perfectly, isn't going to be as beneficial to the individual as staying up all night because you just lost track of time, because you're so excited about the activity that you're getting to do, which is just a very charming way to think about it. I think the idea that our enjoyment of the activity weighs possibly more than our determination to get an activity perfectly. And so I think that's something that I personally am really drawn to, because I really love doing activities for the fun of them. I love drawing and knitting and tapping trees for their sap and making syrup, because it's extremely fun, and I just think there's so much fun to be had in this world. And the idea that simply having fun with something, using practice hours wisely, but having fun with it and seeing it as this fantastic privilege that you get to practice, as opposed to a chore, and seeing it all as just a different form of work, that your playtime after you've finished your day job, your playtime is just yet again more work. It's just truly lovely that we don't have to think of practice hours that way, and yet they can still be extremely effective. So that is my latest little discovery while reading books, or at least one of them. Yeah. I think that this sketch of Anya is kind of coming along. As you can see, no lines are perfect. They're all just sort of generally getting the shape down, but they don't look bad. And they kind of... It's very interesting in this phase of my drawing, because sometimes I get to this phase of my drawing and actually really like the sort of scrappy look quite a lot. It looks quite nice to me. But of course, at the end of the day, looking at our reference photo, we can see that Anya is made up of very clean lines, not at all this style of drawing. So I'm going through and I'm darkening up a few of the lines that I really like that maybe aren't as distinct, because soon here in a minute, I think that I am ready to move on to my second iteration of this, and I will be reducing the opacity, which when you reduce the opacity of, here, let me try and make these little cones that she wears. I think that's the right size, about. But as I was saying, the opacity, when you reduce it, the more lines you have overlapping, the darker the color is going to come through. So sometimes I will use multiple lines on top of each other as a method of determining which line I actually prefer from the previous layer. Okay, I think this is good. I think I might just make a new layer for her facial features, because I don't really want to mess with this sketch, because I think this sketch looks kind of nice. So all right, let's try your eyes, Anya. Oh, not big enough. Okay. No. Your eyes are so big. All right, I think they just sort of making it a little bit more rectangular. Gosh, they're very strange. And looking at them now, they're almost like eggs, egg-shaped eyes. Okay, let's see. Let me go ahead and try the next one. For this, I'm mostly looking at where parts of her eye sort of touch or almost touch other features of her face. So I think that her eyes are actually too close together as I'm looking at it. I'm just gonna put a nose there, and actually I'm having a hard time putting this nose here. At some point I need to give it up, because this is just a sketch, huh? I'm just sort of trying to look where her hair crosses her eyes, or where her mouth almost touches her chin. I think this is looking all right. Yeah, I'm just going to thicken that up a little bit. Give her some eyebrows, I think, maybe. Right. I think I'm going to move her eye now. Oh, no. Accidentally went into isolation mode. It's okay, just hit ESC. Let's try this again. Okay. A little bit farther. That seems okay. Just when in doubt, make the eyes bigger, right? See, this is the thing that I really love about digital drawing. I love drawing on paper as well, but there's just something about the ability to edit, undo, and there's no trace of a mark left, or the ability to just sort of pick up a shape that maybe you really like the shape, but now you can move it to another part of the paper. So okay, so now I'm going ahead and doing this opacity reduction. So I've selected all, I've reduced the opacity to something like 45. Now I'm gonna do this again. Select all, which is Command A on your keyboard. Reduce the opacity. And now you can kind of see what I was talking about with the extra lines, making a darker area. And we're just gonna go over this again in a new layer, and hopefully this time it will look a little bit smoother. So once again, I'm using the brush tool. I'm gonna try and make things a little less scrappy this time, because my hope is that after one or maybe two of these, I left the opacity a little bit too low there. I want to make sure that my opacity is back up to 100% for this layer. But yeah, and so the idea is that, you know, after one or two tries with these layers that will eventually just be deleted or hidden, that I will be able to use the pen tool rather than the brush tool. And for me, at least at this stage of my Adobe Illustrator abilities and practice, the brush tool is really good for getting a smooth, more organic stroke. But the pen tool is much easier to manipulate. And so I want to sort of work towards the pen tool, but the pen tool is something that I can really I only have the skill to trace with right now. So I need to get my brush strokes as close to the actual shape that I want the pen tool to create before I even pull the pen tool out. This is looking nice. I think that's okay there. And you're probably seeing or noticing that I do a lot of edit undo or Command Z at this point. I mean, there comes a point when you just have to sort of say, all right, this is as close as I'm going to get on a sketch. But as I'm trying to reduce my lines, it is kind of nice to just be able to give it a go, give it a look, and see whether or not it's actually a line that I particularly like. So there we go. That's nice. Give it another try. Okay. I'm going to introduce these little extra lines here near the cowlick she's got. Can't forget her little cones, her little horns, cow horns, the boys called them in the show. I don't know. Some of the clothes in these anime shows are just very interesting, but they keep you guessing, your curiosity is my curiosity is maintained for sure. I find collars on clothes, I have this tendency to sort of bring the front of them in and sort of like have the collar shrink. So I have to kind of re-extend those collar corners. Right? And at some point, when I think I've gone over every detail that I've previously drawn, I might just turn off the little eye beside my old layers and just check to see if I have actually drawn every basic contour line before moving on to my next layer. So got the mouth at this point. I think I have mostly just the eyes left, where I'll try and get a general shape correct. Okay. She doesn't even have an outline around her entire eye, which I think I will leave that as a problem for future Leanie, who is going to be filling in the colors. And here's her eyelid. That's good. And I'll make this a little darker for her eyelashes. There you go. All right, and the other eye. get some of those eyelashes in there. I think she's starting to look kind of cute. I think we're starting to move beyond the scrappy look and see something that kind of resembles our little character. For her irises, sometimes I like drawing the irises with the brush stroke, and other days I'm not really sure that I do a good enough job of it. But since this is a sketch layer, I think I'll just leave it with the brush stroke. I think the last thing I have is her chin. Oh. Might actually be somewhat difficult to get the chin right because it's just a smooth line. This is the sort of thing that I think best fits the pen tool, but again, just a background sketch. At some point I have to just let it go and say that's good enough. Alright, it looks like I've collected all of the lines that I need there. So I think it's okay to move on. I'm going to lock this layer, rename it. And it's important to take breaks as well. I think that it's good to not just constantly be determined to finish something. If you kind of get to a point where you need to pause, then take a pause. So I think that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so now I am come back from my break, and up until now, we've been using the brush tool, and I think that we have a good enough sketch that it's time to move on, and it's time to use the pen tool. So the brush tool, if I can sort of maybe show you the downside that I am not super a fan of. So first I'm going to make a new layer, but you can see how easy it is to make some curly, beautiful lines. But let's say that I make some beautiful line that I really like, but I really want to change something about it. If I go into the select tool and I try to sort of change something, it's going to change a lot more individual pieces of that line. And it's just gonna be a lot harder to make something that's beautifully smooth. Whereas with the pen tool here, let's see, I have only like about, 3 or 4 anchor points that I've created. But if I go into the select tool, I can choose out an anchor point, and I can change the whole thing with a much smoother, a much easier single change, as opposed to this line over here where it's just absolute chaos, because any slight change of direction with the brush tool ends up in creating a whole new anchor point. So I am now switching to the pen tool, and I'm going to be making a layer where I'm sort of tracing now. So let me try dimming it. Oh no, that's not working out. That doesn't do what I thought it would do. What if I make this a template? No, still nothing. Maybe that only works on images, like the picture I drew in from Google with Anya. Not to worry, I can always do my good old-fashioned select all and reduce opacity. Or actually, I think I might just change it to a different color. So let me change it to gray, because now I don't want all the extra clutter of if I overlapped a line. I really didn't overlap a lot of lines. Maybe I did closer to the eyes, but you see all that mess, which is kind of scrappier and harder to see the individual lines. Now I kind of want something where I can see the clean lines, but I don't have to think too hard about which one is the one that I'm trying to trace. So I think that I will just stick with turning this gray, which looks more or less like I've just dimmed it or turned it into a template layer. And I can now go over it with a black pen stroke, and it will be very clear what layer, which strokes belong to what layer. Okay, so let me go ahead. He's got these clean lines. I'm just trying to get an idea of what Anya's general shape is, but I'm looking at her shading now too, actually, a little bit, and there's really not a lot of shading to be done. There's these sort of block shading things. So I'm going to go to my pen tool. I'm going to start making my pen layer, and I'm going to only do the contours that I can see and not bother with the shading for now. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. If you click and hold down and sort of drag, then you can sort of make this curved line. And I think this is something that took me a fair amount of practice in the beginning when I was first starting Adobe Illustrator, knowing how many anchor points I needed and how to make something look smooth, because adding too many anchor points can actually make it harder to make something look smooth. I mean, I would think that having more anchor points would make something a lot easier to smooth out, but that's not really always the case. So there's that. I think this one looks nice. Let me go and change the color to black so that I can see it. All right, I think that's pretty good. And I think I'm actually also going to make it thicker just so that it's really obvious. I'm not sure that I like how thick that made it, but perhaps that's something that I just have to live with. Just sort of come back to that at some point, and if I decide I really don't like it. Okay. So let me go through and do some of these other lines. I think that we're good. Yeah. Okay. Let me get her little cowlick in there. So the other thing is, if you want to make these lines that are angular, you can just double click on the point, the anchor point that was once coming out of a curved line. So if you come out of a curved line, it's naturally going to, the pen tool will naturally want to continue the curve. But if you click the anchor point again, then you can revert back to angular anchor points. Okay. Nice. All right, there's that angular click again. Now, one difficulty that you can have with the pen tool is that sometimes it's really hard to not have it automatically link up to some previous anchor point. So sometimes you have to create a line that is longer, or goes through another shape, but you can always go back and delete those or edit those out using the shape builder tool, which is possibly one of my favorite tools. I don't know about favorites here, but it's a very useful tool, so I quite enjoy it. So you can see I've kind of crossed some lines over here with her bangs that I will not keep those in the final product, but it's just easier to keep them for now. So let me go ahead and keep on tracing here. There's something very nice and calming about drawing in Adobe Illustrator in this stage. There's just something very much, very mindless. It's very soothing in its way. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. I really enjoy this particular step because this is kind of where the drawing is somewhat coming together. You're seeing something that's relatively close to the final product that you're looking for, but at the same time you feel like you're making quite a big difference with every single stroke that you make, and you don't have to think too hard. I don't know. Let me click this one, pick up. The other thing is, I don't know if I've already mentioned, but you can, by going to the end of a line, just sort of pick up from where you left off and continue on the contour. So sometimes if it's easier to start a contour, like you're having a difficulty not connecting anchor points, you can start from an easier place where there are no other anchor points nearby, and then you can pick up that same contour line when you get into this area that's more in the weeds and has a lot of other things that the computer might try and automatically snap your pen tool to connect with. All right. Alright, I think this mouth is maybe about the right shape, but I don't really love it. So I think that I'm just going to go ahead and make a decent attempt, but really expect to do some alterations to it later. For this little piece here, I'm going to go ahead and make this an entirely closed shape, which may or may not make sense to you at the moment, but looking ahead, I know that what I'm going to do for the coloring and the base colors is use the shape builder tool to create a complete shape. So I actually do want this to be a closed shape, so that's why I went ahead and drew underneath the artboard that extra line there, just to make my life a little bit easier. I think we're just about done. Oh gosh, I'm having a hard time not having it automatically connect to other anchor points. By the way, I'm not sure if I've already mentioned it before, but the way to stop your pen line is to hold down the Option key and then click. So that will be the way to stop drawing a line. All right, I've been avoiding the eyes like the plague. It's about time that I face my fear, I think. Oh no, Anya, your eyes are so big. Okay. All right, I think I'm gonna go ahead and make a new layer for this. I enjoy making new layers just because you never know if it's gonna be easier to deal with that, and you can always merge them later or put them in the same layer later. So taking a good look at her eye from the reference photo, I think it's a little bit more egg-shaped than what I've got here, but we're gonna give this a go. So I'm using the pen tool again, sort of clicking and dragging to make this shape I want here. Oh, it looks like I've got the fill color on white, so let me go back and take that fill color out, and then let me try again. Let me increase the width of the stroke as well so I can really get a good look. Okay. All right, so I've just clicked off of it. Let me do the same for the other eye. Okay. And then for her under eye, let me try this in pen. I'm not sure about this in pen. This is almost the sort of thing that looks better with the brush stroke. It looks more natural with the brush stroke. But we'll leave that there for now. And I think I'm going to adjust this eye a little bit more. So I'm going to make this a little bit closer to the shape we want. Bring this in a little bit, I think. All right, now the irises, I'm going to use the ellipse tool. So that is L on your keyboard. And if you click and drag, you can kind of make an ellipse that looks pretty good. If you hold down the shift key, it will make it perfectly circular, but I don't think her irises are perfectly circular. So we're just gonna kind of make a shape that looks pretty good, pretty close to a circle, and then call it good. I think that's fine. Yeah, I think I'll leave those as a bare minimum. You can tell what my favorite part of drawing is not. I am doing a lot to avoid doing the eyes right now, but let's see what can I do. I think I should go back to my pen tool and thicken up her eyelashes a little bit. So I'm just sort of almost retracing, but I'm connecting it to the anchor point so that what I will eventually create is a closed shape. Right, there you go. And then I'll do the same thing to her second eye. Yes, that looks all right. Certainly good enough for a first round with the pen. Okay, I'm gonna make her little eyelids as well. There you go. All right, now I'm gonna make a few more adjustments. It's a little hard to see here because I still have the under sketching layer turned on, but you know, just like making small adjustments to sort of smooth out her eyes, make them seem just more round and more like, I guess she's just really shocked right now. But I was about to say elegant, but her face is not one of beauty and grace at the present moment. Okay. Let me think. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about these eyelashes. I think I need to do these eyelashes maybe in the brush tool. So I think that, oh, hang on. I did not mean to do that. Okay, let's see. I think that these eyelashes should be done using the brush tool just because I have a little bit more control over that. So, and I want to kind of make them like thicker at certain parts, curvier at certain parts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm trying to decide about these shapes here. I'm trying to think through what tool I like. Let me fill those in. If I fill those in, it looks a lot better. So this is why I used a closed shape, because I really wanted to be able to have these eyebrows look thicker, like they do in the reference photo, without having to sort of scribble them in. So the under eyes, I don't think I want pen tools, so let me go ahead and, here's the indecision. I think I'm going to go ahead and delete these and try again with the brush tool for underneath her eyes. So let's see if this looks any better. Yeah, I think that's more what I want. Yeah, I think that looks good. I think the brush tool was definitely the right choice here. Okay. Now come the last little bits that I need to to add in here. I think that there's some lines around her cones and things that I need to add. Because right now I am looking forward to the color layer. So I need to create as many lines as I need in order to distinguish separate colors from each other. Let me try this. I guess. You see, at this point I am now no longer drawing her eyes or facial features, but I'm still in the eye layer. That's okay though, because I plan to merge these two layers, so I'm not super concerned anymore now that I've finished the difficult part of this layer. So okay, let me add the same little golden strip on the opposite side. Now if you have some very keen eyes, you can see the shadows on like these little cone horns, and how they're actually different colors when they're shadows, but I wouldn't bother with those just yet. Right now, just worry about base colors and any sort of distinct contour line separated colors. So I'm going to make another layer right now really quickly, just for her clothes. I don't really think I need a new layer, but it's just a habit I'm in at this point to make a new layer when there's something that I want to kind of work on in more detail. So I'm going to give her a little pin badge. Is it a crest? I don't know, maybe that's the word for it, a crest. The Eden College brooch. I think though I might do better with this in the pen tool, because I can have a little bit more control over that. It's like a column control. There we go. This is looking better. Not perfect, but better. And I don't think I'm after perfect, really, so that's perfect for me. And then I'm going to use the ellipse tool, which is again L. And I'm just going to move that a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks good. All right. I'm going to draw her little robes. Might try that again, a little bit lower. There we go. So one thing that I pay attention to here, and I think I've already said it, but because I'm looking forward to a color layer, I want to make sure that all of my distinct shapes are intersecting. Their contour lines either are perfectly aligned or they cross over. So you can probably see some of the lines that I've just drawn are a little bit ugly because they cross over another line. That's okay. Don't shy away from that, because the shape builder tool which I'm about to use, can clean up those extra lines very easily, so it's not a problem. What is a harder thing to fix is when you've pulled out the shape builder tool and you're trying to build a shape and your lines don't quite meet, and so you then have to go back into the specific select tool and change around anchor points so that they do intersect, or that they are close enough that the shape builder tool can distinguish one shape from another. I'm sure that there will be at least one shape in this drawing that does not perfectly separate out, so you will see that probably in a minute. But yeah, just don't be afraid to have lines completely cross over other lines. There, like that. I think we are about done here. Brilliant. Okay. All right, so now okay, so this is the point of the drawing where I really want to finalize my pen strokes, because I will be reusing these pen strokes for pretty much every step from here on out, for all of the coloring steps. So I want to make sure that if it's something that I can edit now, then I do it now, because if I build a shape that is based on these pen strokes and then I decide to change the pen strokes, I not only need to change the pen strokes, but I need to change the shape as well. So, and that can just sort of be a domino effect, really, and it can be so frustrating to have to go through like 6 layers of things if you have a lot of shading involved, and edit quite a lot. Whereas if I do it now, then I only really need to make the edits once. Okay, so now I think that I am good to go with all of my shapes. I'm going to, well, actually, I think that I'm going to move these eyes in a little bit. They seem to be a little bit too wide. Actually, I think that helps. And then I think that the other eye might be a little too close. Let's see if I can adjust this. I think that, well, let's see, I think that might be all right, but we definitely need to adjust this mouth. I think that the mouth is a little bit off, so allow me to try and fix that. So here I've just deleted one of the anchor points to the mouth. As you can see, it just adds extra chaos that you don't really need if you have too many anchor points. So just slowly making some changes here. I think that I have left out her tongue. So let me quickly add in a little bit of tongue there. Okay, so now I've selected all, and you can see I've pulled out the shape builder, which is using Shift M, and you can see some of these closed shapes are appearing in gray. Now, first of all, I'm going to go through and hold down the Option key and delete these extra lines that I don't need. So any line that sort of overshoots the runway, I'm trying to go in and it'll appear red, and then I'll delete it. It can be a little hard to find the exact line, like where you can hover over it. You can see it kind of feels like a strobe light sometimes, or I'm just sort of going over a shape, and sometimes it can be really hard to click it. But basically all I'm trying to do here is clean up my drawing and make shapes eventually, but right now I'm just cleaning up the lines. So here's an example where I had to exit the shape builder tool and move a line a little bit closer so that when I Command A and Shift M, it would appear that the neck was separate from the collar. And you can already sort of tell that the neck is not showing up as separate from the rest of her robes, so I once again will have to go back into that in a minute and alter the lines a little bit. But for now, I'm going to be lazy and ignore it. Okay. That's good. Oh, well, of course, the reason why it was appearing as a whole thing is because I've put my pen layer on multiple layers. So now I need to go ahead and change a few things if I want to alter that. So let's go ahead and move this layer in. All right, and then we'll move this layer in as well. Okay, and so then now we can Command A, Shift M, and we will see that we can make alterations to all of the lines. So let's go in. You can already see that this line doesn't quite meet the other lines, so that's gonna be adjusted there. This one, that one's fine. Okay. Some of the things you can adjust by just using the select tool, but I do really love my shape builder tool. You can also click and drag while holding down the Option key, and that will get rid of a lot of lines at once that you don't really want. So, okay, let's take a look at this. I think I'll get rid of all of these lines, even though they really don't matter. It can be as messy as I want outside of the artboard, but now I need to clean up these robes. So let's see, let's get rid of these little ones. You just see everything's getting quite a bit neater. And the reason I use the Shape Builder tool to do this rather than the Select tool most of the time is that if you use the Shape Builder tool, you know that the lines go right up to the edge of the next contour line. So it's not like you're going to be concerned when you do pull out your Shape Builder tool, like, did I just make a shape that wasn't complete and then I'll have to do some more editing. By using the Shape Builder tool to eliminate the overlapping lines, you kind of guarantee at the same time that you still have a shape at the end of the day. Alright, by selecting the V tool, I can kind of move this whole brooch over. Oh, if I selected the right things, that is. Let's try and select the right things this time. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm using the Select tool that you can get to by pressing A on your keyboard, because I just want to adjust the ribbon as it connects to the brooch. So, all right. Might be premature to say this, but I think that is all of the shapes, all of the lines cleaned up. Okay, so now we're going to start doing one of the most rewarding, satisfying parts of drawing. We're going to create the base layer for all of the color in the drawing. So I'm going to start by taking this pen layer that I've created, and I want to copy all of the contours onto a new layer. So I'm going to make this new layer. I'm going to call it something like base color layer, and then I'm going to copy all of the pen layer by clicking this square and holding down Option and dragging it into the base color. And make sure you've copied this and not just moved all of the lines over. And you can verify this by toggling off and on the visibility. So now that we have everything copied, I am going to have this pen layer locked, and we're going to start making shapes out of the lines that are in the base colors layer. I've selected all, and looking around, it seems pretty good. Seems like most of the shapes I want are already set. So first, let's do her hair. I'm going to click and drag all of the areas that I want to be the same shade of pink. So clicked and dragged. But something that I actually really like to do is I like to choose a very obvious color, very ugly color or something, just to show that I have indeed made a shape. And it makes it a lot easier to click on the shape afterwards too. So I'm going through and I'm going to make every separate shape this green color, just so I can see that I've covered all my bases. Her skin is a little bit difficult because I want her eyes to be a separate color, so I'll leave that for the moment and I'll just go through and get all of these little shapes. Okay, that looks pretty good. I get her mouth too, and the little corners of her tongue. And her eyebrows, if I can get them. Okay. Now I'm going to go in and do a little bit more detailed work. This brooch can go ahead and be made into one single shape again. I'll do my ugly color again. All right. Okay. And I think that is probably a good pausing moment. I will just sort of color her hair for now and some of the more basic things. So I'm using the eyedropper tool. So I've selected her hair and I've clicked just on the reference photo and I've picked up the pink color that I wanted. Underneath her chin, you see this little area of deeper shadow. So I've selected both areas and now I've picked up the shadow pink. And this is basically how I go through, if I have a reference photo, just sort of selecting out different areas that have the same color using the eyedropper tool, which again, you can get to the eyedropper tool just by clicking or pressing the keyboard shortcut I. Let me go through and fill out some of these colors. And I'm holding down Shift as I select each part of these same colored objects. So it can be a little hard to grab. I'm trying not to zoom in and out too much because it can be a little bit difficult to follow, I think. But yeah. Okay, with that, I think that I've pretty much got all of the colors except for the colors in her face. So I've moved the pen layer on top so that now we can actually see the lines. Yeah, that's just sort of a good check to see that, you're still looking good. But I think I'm going to go ahead and complete these eyes with a pen tool. There we go. Just so that I can fill in the shape nicely. Now these lines won't actually be visible because I'm going to, after I finish making the shapes and making the colors, I turn off all of the strokes visibility in this layer. So I don't have to worry about these looking beautiful. I just have to realize that these are what I'm going to use in order to get the right color in for her eyes. All right, now we're going back to the shape builder tool. And you can see now it's great. I can separate her face from her eyes. I'm going to go back to my ugly color and I'm going to fill in all of these different shapes. So let me go ahead and do that. She looks like the Grinch or something. Oh my goodness. Okay, I think we got it. All right, so now I'm actually going to go ahead and use the shape builder tool to get rid of some of these issues. Actually, you see I've kind of blended some of the shapes here already. I don't know that I super love that. I think I might have to undo that. All I'm trying to do here is make it so that the little bits of green that you can see underneath this go away. I'm just trying to fill in the gaps here. But, they're very small anyway, so I'm not really sure that they need too much attention. I think I'm just being a little bit ridiculous, but that's okay. Okay, that looks good to me. All right. I'm going to go ahead and fill this shape that I've just made black. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side actually first. I just find it somewhat satisfying to think of it all as one shape rather than a couple of individual brush strokes. Oh, let's undo that. There we go. That looks nice. Okay. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to do the same thing that I did before, just with her facial features. So let's get to it. Okay, now I might be extremely childish, avoiding eating the meal, you know, in favor of dessert. But I think that I'm just going to sort of leave the irises as they are for the moment, and I'll address them at the end. But now we have all of our base colors, so this is really good. I think that the next step is to go ahead and start adding in some shadows. So similar to the process as before, we can go ahead, well, first of all, let me take out all of these lines so that we don't have any extra lines rummaging around. That's definitely not the right word for that. I think I don't really love how high her chin is, so I'm just going to adjust this a bit. And you can see this is the exact problem that I was talking about earlier when you're fixing up your pen lines, is I can move my pen line, but then I also will have to move the colored shape that I made with it, and it just gets a lot more complicated. You can imagine doing this for a lot of lines would get really, really old. So try and keep this to a minimum. It makes your life just quite a bit easier. Yeah, be careful not to drag the whole piece with you, but to just select the one anchor point or the two anchor points that you need in order to move it down. There we go. Brilliant. Now, because I'm using like contour lines on top of this piece, it's not too terrible, but I can hardly imagine how difficult it might be if I was using just brush strokes for the whole piece. Because I use colored shapes, it really doesn't seem like that big of a burden comparatively, but it could get really ugly, I think, really quickly. There we go. Okay. I think that looks a little bit better. Okay, so new layer. Once again, I'm going to put the pen layer underneath this temporarily. I'm going to unlock the pen layer, click the square, the colored square, Option, drag, perfect. And I'm going to lock it. Make sure to lock that pen layer because you do not want to mess with that. Let's rename this layer. And now we can go ahead, draw some extra lines to make the boundaries of our shading. And it's the same exact process as before. Okay, so here I'm separating out the different areas of her hair, unlike last time, because you can see that the shadows along the bottom of her hair do kind of follow some of these contour lines. So I'm going to go ahead and make these shapes just in case I need them. And I'm going to make this shadow that her chin casts over her collar. Just like this. Doesn't matter if the line is extremely thick, because we are going to eventually make the line not have any stroke to it at all. Okay, I think that we have successfully put in all of the shadows that I can think of. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off all of the strokes here, make it look nice and clean again. And I think we are set. I'll put my pen layer on top so that we have that. Now clean up a little bit. There's a few things I see that need some cleaning. Can check which layer they're in. Okay, so now I'm going to make another layer yet again. And this layer is going to contain some of the the topmost contours and highlights. You can see there's a few really bright spots and a few missing contours in what we have so far. So I'm going to go ahead and once again drag from the pen layer and pull it into our newest layer. Brilliant. Okay. Now the reason I want to do this is because there's a feature called Draw Inside, and I'm not quite sure, I see these little highlights here, and I think I'm going to want to use Draw Inside. So I'm going to make a shape out of this hair again. We'll go ahead and choose a color. And with that shape, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit and choose to draw inside here. Select our brush tool, just checking. Click the shape, click draw inside, and now anything that I draw using my brush tool will remain inside this shape that we've created. So I will go ahead and start drawing her highlights. All right, now I think I've got the shapes right. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to where I see the clip group that we've created here. And obviously I don't want our hair to be white, so I'm going to go into this clip group. And I'm going to delete that. Actually, no, I don't want to do that because then that gets rid of our clip group. I'm going to select it, and then I will change the color. So it's important to have no fill and no lines because we already have a pen layer, and we don't really want to have this clip group be another set of pen lines. So then I'm going to select all of the brush strokes that I have inside the clip group, and I'm going to use my little eyedropper tool to once again pick up the right color. And that looks great. I'm going to flip the color from the fill color to the stroke color, because when you use the eyedropper tool for something that is a fill color, it will automatically fill. It will automatically choose to use the fill color as opposed to making a stroke color. And obviously what I have are not shapes but brush strokes. So that is all I was doing there. I'm going to try and alter this little shimmer a little bit and put it in the right spot. There, that looks nice. Okay, brilliant. Alright, so now we can close that, and I tend to lock my clip groups just so that I don't accidentally mess with them. But okay, now what's next? What's next? Is there anything? Okay, we need to put in these lines here on her hair for sure. So let's go ahead and do that. Already gone ahead and turned off the extra lines that we have. There should be no fill and there should be no stroke. And now I think I can make these contour lines. Okay, I think now I'll move on to these little shock lines that she has. I'm not quite sure if those would be best done in pen or not. So let me think about this. First, let's get the right color. Doesn't seem to be quite it. Okay. Getting closer. I think that's it. I think that's close enough. So let's go ahead and try this with the brush stroke first. Or maybe... My thing is, I'm trying to decide if I want these brush strokes to go underneath something like the eye shape. So I think that maybe I'll just first give it a go and then we'll see how it should come out. Draw myself a little reference line. That looks pretty good, I think. Might be a little bit too thick over here. I'm not sure. Well, I think it's good. We'll leave it as it is. I'll just... I'm so undecided. I think it goes up a little bit higher. There, that's good. Redo this one as well. Okay, so now I am going to go through, select all of these, and I'm going to hold down Shift to unselect the contours that I don't really want in this selected as well. So I've just got all of my little lines selected, and I'm going to group them because I want to be able to put them all underneath the eye and the eyelashes. I don't want these blue lines on top, so I've grouped them, and I think that there's the group. Okay, so I'm going to rename this group shock lines, I think. And I'm going to move this to a better place. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and move this outside of this layer altogether, actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag it, keep dragging. All right, I'll put it right here for now. I'm gonna unlock my base color layer and going to put it in my base color layer. All right, and then now I just need to put the shock lines, yep, underneath the eye, but on top of the skin. So let's see, I think that was too far. Let's try this again. Let's see. Move him back up a little bit. I think right there. That's it. That seems like a nice spot. All right. I'll make them a little bit longer too. Okay. Sweet. All right, so I'm gonna lock that and oh, nice. Okay, so she's coming along. She looks very cute. I think I'll make her little sweat beads on her face. I think I'm going to do this. This looks like a line, like a brushstroke line with a sort of shaded ellipse. So I think that I will just do that. So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to close this up. Well, I guess I'll use this layer. That'll be okay. Using the ellipse tool, I'm going to make a small little circle. And I'm going to fill that circle. So I've got that color. All right. I'm going to copy and paste that a couple of times, which is Command C and Command V. So this one goes right there. We paste another one in and pull him in. He goes a little closer to her eyes, a little bit smaller. All right. Yeah. All right, so now we got the brush tool out, turning off the fill color and making the stroke white. Okay. This is all really so detailed, just so subtle, but all of these small little details, I think, come together and make the picture seem quite nice at the end of the day. All right, I think that I may have avoided the eyes for long enough. Okay, I think it's time I face my fears, and I will make a new layer. We'll call it eyes. Alright, so her eyes are pretty much all green except for her highlights. I'm going to bring the reference photo actually closer so that I can bring her eyes really, really close to her face, just so I can get a good look at them while being zoomed in. So let me do that. Okay. So I think I'm once again going to do the copy the pen layer and paste the pen layer into the the newest layer move. And yeah, I'm gonna do draw inside for these eyes. So I think that will be doable. We're experimenting a little bit here. So draw inside. And I think I'm going to use the ellipse tool. So I'll use the ellipse tool for, let's just move that, for her highlights and for her pupil. So let's start with your pupil, I guess. Moving that somewhat centered. Okay. I'm not sure if I should be coloring these things at this moment, but I'm just allowing myself to try the things out and we'll see if a particular method is better or worse at the end of the day. So here I've I dropped the base color, and then I have tried to make the stroke color what I wanted it to be, but I don't really think that it's going to work out for me. Nope, it's really not wanting to pick that up, so. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and manually do that. It doesn't look too bad, doesn't look too far off. Alright, now making the second ellipse, and this will be the highlighted region. So I'm going to go ahead here, and I think that's good. I'm going to turn off the fill temporarily, and I don't think that we even want a stroke for this one, or maybe a black stroke for the shape builder. Let's see if we can do a shape builder. It is not letting me do a shape building tool. That is kind of disappointing. that's kind of sad. Interesting. Let me think about how I can do this. And we're getting kind of close to what I'm looking for, but it's not exactly what I want. I mean, I can add this highlight in. That's nice. I don't like this highlight here. It's not allowing me to have a somewhat darker highlight by making a shape. I can't make a shape within this clip group for some reason, so I might need to think about this a different way. Let me see. Yeah, no, it really just will not let me use the shape builder. That is so crazy. All right. Well, I guess I have to think of a new way to do this. All right, let's see. Maybe I'll start over actually. I might just delete this layer and start again, start afresh. So we're going to get our pen layer again. We're going to make our new layer and we're going to copy our old lines like we have before to the new layer. Okay, here I'm going to, before I do any sort of clip group action, I'm going to go ahead and use my ellipse tool and make my eye ellipses. And afterwards, I think I can go into draw inside for just my last little highlight, my eye highlight. Okay. All right, that looks good to me. So let's do Command A and bring out our shape builder tool. All right, delete the lines we don't need. And then build the shapes that we do want using our ugly colors once again. I don't know why I call them ugly. I mean, they're just normal colors. But they're bold. They stand out. All right. Now with these, I'm going to go ahead and do what I always do, which is use the eyedropper tool. So let's see how much I can figure out here. Okay, that looks pretty good, but I think I might want to adjust that a little bit darker actually. I feel like that is closer to what I want. Brilliant. Okay. Yeah. All right. And then go in here, the eyedropper again. All right. And our last little one with the eyedropper, finally. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I mean, that seems pretty decent. The only thing is I have lost the sort of stroke, the ability to put a stroke around it. So if I put my stroke at like this green here, there's kind of like a line between the two, and I'm not really sure that I like that. In fact, I know I don't like that. But Anya does have this sort of brighter green rim around her pupil, so I think this is something that I should probably try and adjust in the next eye, or next time I do eyes. Maybe I need to make another copy and paste another ellipse, or just sort of duplicate my ellipses like I have my pen layers, and so I can do a layer of the shape and then a layer of the stroke. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and make another ellipse and just overlay it, having no fill, but having the stroke be something like Anya's eye color around the iris. I think that's probably the best thing I can do at this point. And it's not terribly bad. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty close to what I was hoping for. All right. And now I get to do my draw inside. And I get to pull out my brush and just draw the final highlight. Perfect. It does kind of go underneath the stroke ellipse that I just added, and I'm not sure I love that, but I guess that is just a downfall to the method I've used. So I guess I will think about that more next time when I'm working on eyes in my next drawing. Okay, and then I guess the last thing that we have to do is this final eye. So same process. Okay, I think that I am pretty much done, actually. I think that this is just about all that I really want to do with this picture. There comes a point when you know that you could actually just keep editing something forever, or keep tweaking the colors, or just a little bit. But I think that I've really learned all that I want to and practiced all that I can with this drawing. So I think that I'm going to leave it be if I can possibly manage to convince myself to do that. But it's very fun to practice if you have the right mindset, and it's important to not get discouraged because on YouTube or so many of these social media platforms, everything is time-lapsed and everything is perfect, and you don't see all of the process that goes into creating a piece, and you don't see all of the mistakes. So if you are learning and practicing, don't be discouraged. Of course, this is not a professional piece right here, but it is quite good, I think, and I did learn quite a bit from it. So thank you for watching, and good luck with your own drawings.